In my experience, Macross pulled me into as a witness to a love triangle so painful and hard to watch that by the end I couldn't even decide. Even more bittersweet is that it was a decision that ultimately came down to being more out of circumstance than personal choice. If you watch the film Do You Remember Love, which I watched first, it makes the love triangle even more complicated because of the differences between that and the film's approach. The movie pushes in favor of Minmay and makes the effort to make Misa look very unlikable in how hot-headed she is and with rushed emotional development. On the other hand, the series pushes far more for Misa's very pleasant growth and emotional development with Hikaru for a long while making Minmay look unpleasant instead. The series, however, takes full focus on the love triangle at the end and makes Minmay so much more likable and caring that it made me choose her one more time during the finale. As much as I love Misa's character, I was won over by Minmay's sincerity in her chase of Hikaru after she ran away from her idol career to go see him. Still, and to make matters worse, Misa began feeling depressed at that point and wanted to quit the military altogether and to go somewhere far away alone. It would be too painful for her to have to work with Hikaru and to see him every day. As the drama continues, the staff's writing flips it one last time at the very end and makes it concrete, plain and simple, that it was impossible to choose Minmay, and Misa becomes the one for Hikaru. This crushed me. My emotions were successfully played and toyed with during this roller coaster of a romance. At the end, with all things considered, Misa was the better choice, more out of circumstance, not from personal choice. As much as Minmay and Hikaru loved each other, they came from two completely different worlds. Hikaru is a soldier and was not fully willing to give up that for Minmay. Minmay is an idol singer that, though being overworked, can't really give up. The She has too many hopes that it will get better, and she can't deal with Hikaru always putting his life on the front lines when he goes to war. You could say all three were at fault to a certain degree. Hikaru would not tell Minmay his feelings and was too oblivious to Misa obviously having fallen in love with him. After the epic ending to episode 27, I don't understand how they were both that dense and clueless that nothing happened between them during the 2 year time skip. Once Minmay finally learned about how Hikaru felt, she came to share the same feelings for him eventually. For 2 years, her idol career would slowly drain her away, while having to also deal with a cousin so blind that he only saw her as a cash cow and nothing else. Though she would return Hikaru's feelings, she was unable to deal with Hikaru's career choice. It's a problem all too real for many of us when careers get in the way and make relationships feel impossible. At least the film made Hikaru more decisive and assertive. In the series, he's confused and unsure of what to do nearly the entire time. He's chosen Minmay, but he'll run back to Misa. He'll choose Misa, but can't get over Minmay and go see her again. He'll even shamelessly use Minmay's scarf that she gifted him to try to wrap himself up with Misa in it while he's back on the Misa bench, just to get caught when Misa notices that Hikaru loves Minmay writing on it that he wasn't aware about. He can be rude, does not express himself very well, and is what I call a confused liar and deceiver. That's because down at the bottom of Hikaru's heart, he's a good man. I don't mean to attack him so sharply. The series develops an army of very likable characters, all whom I enjoyed. Major Folkart is the bold and confident ladies' man who looks out after Hikaru like a brother. He is the life of the party and with a powerfully amusing laugh. Claudia is his partner who would become Misa's emotional support in the love triangle. The women staff of the Macross are all lovable and likable staff members. Captain Global is a sincere and honest captain who truly seeks the best for all 56,000 people on board the Macross. He'll fight the politics of the government on Earth to see to it that the best interests of his staff and people are met. The music is iconic. The opening eventually grew on me. While the themes in the anime are all memorable, the trumpet song when the Zentradi attack sort of grates my ears though. Mimi's songs are all amazing, though it got a bit annoying how she would perform My Boyfriend is a Pilot way too much. The animation is a double-edged sword. On one hand, I feel the detailed animation I love the detail animation, and much of it is more impressive than a lot of the trash that's out today. Despite the flaws, I prefer Macross's animation instead of the mostly horrifying CGI that exists today. 30 years later, in technological advancements, it's disappointing to say this. Due to tight schedules, that did result in some hilarious animation in Macross. Many times, Minma and Misa look like they were made out of clay. There's the infamous knife fight scene between Max and Milia, where Milia's eyes got so crooked it was horrifying. I remember an episode where they didn't have the time to animate it, and it was a slideshow battle that I couldn't help but laugh at. Speaking of laughing, I am confused as to why this series does not get labeled as a comedy, seeing as though it is one of the most hilarious and clever written series I have ever seen. Director Nobuo Ishiguro, who would later go on to direct Legend of the Galactic Heroes, said in an interview that comedy is his specialty, and it really shows here. The idea of proto-culture, what it is, the centrality, what they are like, and their reactions are always comedy gold. The Centrati, as well as the humans, or myclones as they say, both came from an ancient peoples from hundreds of thousands of years ago. The Centrati are seen as aliens since the humans don't know much about them, and they are made strictly for battle. They lost their culture along the way, and after finding a way to reproduce on their own, they went to war against their own women. Their fights are such spectacles that the battle zone can be as big as a large planet. The leadership of the Zentradi are aware of a warning from long ago about the protoculture and its ability to pacify and make their forces useless. The hilarious part about this is what protoculture is. It's intimate and everyday things people do. But to the Zentradi, they have lost their culture to such an extent and have fought against women for so long that it shocks them to see something as simple as a man and a woman standing together. The reactions here are ridiculously funny. Seeing something as simple as a kiss will make them scream in panic. One of them manages to get a small Minmay toy that can sing. When they start singing and dancing, they think it's a weapon of psychological warfare because of how it makes them feel. Drop their guns and run away scared. The humans would use this to their advantage against them in battle, but the most powerful protoculture is Minmay songs. It wins over the Centrati fleet so much that as the culture returns and awakens in some of them, they rebel and the Centrati fleet goes into chaos over protecting some idol songs. There are three spies that the Centrati send in, and it's always funny seeing them get caught up in the protoculture over and over again, not knowing what they got themselves into. The Macross, as powerful as it is, nearly faced defeat many times. They often survive out of lucky coincidences, improvising with its mysterious functions, and the use of protoculture through Minmay singing. Near the end, the Macross takes a savage beating after it survives the center of a giant explosion, and later in a direct energy blast to the chest, climaxing with its Centrati ship, ramming it and destroying one of its arms. Fortunately, the main crew of the Macross never get seriously harmed. The Centrati are also so serious they do not know what being seen as a fool is. Exodol, to let people know he was talking about Minmay, decides to sing and dance one of her songs like she does to explain to them who he is talking about. Everyone looked at him as if he had lost his mind. Exodol would ask later about why he feels funny after looking at a poster of a woman in a bikini, something he had never seen before, and also ask about what the lingerie store he saw is. The soldier would feel too embarrassed to explain, and Exodol would hilariously say that it's fine, it must be a military secret. The humor outside protoculture is also done well. Sometimes it's odd, like Hikaru and Minmay finding a giant tuna in space and nearly dying trying to get it in for food. Though episode 27 felt like a finale, and initially was before the staff were told to make more episodes due to the success of the series, I do appreciate the final arc of Earth rebuilding itself during these new struggles. Most importantly, and the further development and conclusion of the love triangle. After this, I wanted to watch more, but sadly, there is little known as to what happens after the series, since all the other series take place in the future and don't really bring back the characters. To those curious, there is a 6-minute sequel out there if you look for it that does reveal some events after in a brief way. It's still bittersweet, but it's still a fun treat for those that want closure. It's a shame that some fans have to wait, what was it, 20, 30 years for that? I finished the series yesterday, and it was one of those I had to wait a while before being able to talk about it, as there is so much to think about after finishing it. It felt overwhelming. After the fact, it has now risen to one of my top 3 favorite anime of all time. What all three of them have is the ability to use its storytelling to express sincere and meaningful emotions in the viewers. It speaks to the viewers in a personal way, in this manner, something I have rarely found in anime. 100 out of 100. Thank you for listening.